It is 6:25, y'all. But the thing is, a few days ago, I had pulled out my yearbook to read it. I was up way too late. I pulled out my yearbook to read the notes for summer, and I found these two pictures. The reason that this is so important is because I have been working on this novel called Alone in Paris since I left Paris. I plan to go back to Paris this year for 3 months. Praise God, praise be. Let's speak that. Let's manifest that. All I need is the money. Last time I went with 5,000 inflation. I feel like 7,000 will make me feel safer. But. Anywho, I have been trying to write that book forever, but I'm returning. I just came up with the names. These two people, this is my 8th grade dance, by the way. Look, same dress. That's the same dress. Same dress, two boys. But I think me and Dante were on a date because you see we're matching. Anywho, Dante and Amari will be the names of the characters in Alone in Paris. These were in my yearbook. I opened it and then they were just like, oh, like that's so random. But I was just up on TikTok right now and I looked over and I only saw the picture of Amari at first and I was like, oh my God, that's the perfect name. And then I was like, oh my God, Dante too. So now Alone in Paris is back and I feel like I manifested that. I spoke that into life because I'm like talking about names this week. So we're officially working on 4 books. My grandma's collection of poems for my grandma. I'm sorry, y'all. I just woke up. It is what it is. I've almost decided that that's coming out on Christmas because it's just been too long. We need to prioritize that. And then now Alone in Paris is back on. Always Just Like That is happening. That's like the biggest goal because I think I could finish that within like 2 months if I lock in. And then my TikTok knows this, but I've been writing this book called, is it called The Perfect Ride? The Perfect Commute. But it's a spin on a love story because it's one girl throughout her 20s. So it's her love story, but it's like a lot of different people. But the premise is like she keeps meeting them on the CTA. Anyway, first of all, I look so cute. 8th grade, but that is so crazy. So yeah, I just came up with the characters for my new book from this. Look at this photograph. I'm walking to the cafe. My friend sent me this really cool post about how people write, and I saw that Maya Angelou used to write in a hotel, and I'm like, how was she affording that? A hotel every day? Would she go for like 5 days stays? Like, tell me more. But she wrote in a hotel. But I be writing at cafes and museums, anywhere but home. I don't know. I can edit at home, but I don't really love writing at home. But I am walking. I'm like maybe 15 minutes away from where I'm going, and I'm hoping to write for like 6 hours, a full 6 hours of writing, full engagement. I have a few things I want to write, and I'm just gonna trust the process and just go scene to scene, not feel so inclined to finish a full chapter at once. But the goal is 5,000 words and a Substack post. So let's see where we are at 6 p.m. today. I'm so excited to talk about this writing session because it's a good way for me to talk about my process. So the best way for me to enter this writing session is to talk about the last thing I wrote. Last session I wrote, the 2 main characters were celebrating the guy main character's birthday at a museum. Now, again, I'm a discovery writer, so although I knew it was his birthday, we didn't necessarily say what birthday it was. But when I started this new chapter, I knew that I intentionally wanted to be talking about the lady character's Saturn return. And that's even how it opens, because that is setting us up for like something very adventurous. So when I talk about, I'm writing this new chapter and I decide to say something about the Saturn returning, and the lady character kind of rebuttals and is like, what makes you think that like I need to do something crazy? What'd you do? And when I originally wrote the chapter of his birthday, I didn't assume it was his 27th birthday, but I'm able to do the backwards math because I'm so early in the book for it to actually make sense and the way that I am writing and jumping around. But I did at one point have to take out a piece of paper and say what age they are currently and what age they are when they met and do the work to make it the continuity to make sense. That's important when writing a novel. And you're able to play along with that a lot in the early beginnings, but you have to be very serious. So I did a little bit of quick maths, and we're able to celebrate her birthday. But the thing is, that original scene that I wrote of his birthday didn't really involve anything like crazy and spontaneous. The spontaneous thing being he's saying that they should have an orgy. But I'm able to go back to that scene that wasn't finished because I am jumping around chapter to chapter and say that they, had a tryst, a menage a trois that day at the museum, just as a way to just really bring that story together. And it even helps because the chapter before would be his 27th birthday, and the next would be her 27th birthday, although they're 2 years apart. But the way that the story is written, that jumping around feel really does work. Now, the next part that is super important is, as I said, I'm writing an orgy scene for all intents and purposes. And it was really important to me that like the two main characters did not come off as predatory or as weirdos, because that really does matter. I am a child of urban erotica, and I'm proud of it at this point. Like, it's like a very like beautiful romantic writing style with a lot of sex scenes. And this book specifically does have a lot. I'm 18,000 words in, and I think we've had like at least 4 sex scenes, and it doesn't always mean penetration, but deep, nasty, urban erotica already 18,000 words in. But I wanted to ensure that they were not coming off as anything other than a couple trying to explore. So the chapter that I wrote, basically, he's like, I want to take you to Cancun for your 27th, and I want to go with, other hot couples. And the way that I work through that, because again, I'm a discovery writer, I say they had 6 game nights with 9 different couples. Just again, words matter, and I really like to bring people into the world. And then another thing that you have to do math on is I'm saying we had 9 couples, and a way to like build story is I'm saying we eliminated 1 couple because at a game night they said they were pregnant. We eliminated 2 couples because we saw them looking at each other's phone, like that. But then making sure that at the end of that you have done the math of 9 couples, but that's also building story, because we're kind of able to say things that my main characters do not want in someone who they will be willing to explore sexually with as partners. But this was a really lovely writing session also because I was doing the Palmero method, the Palmero method with my friend Rosita. We started off on Zoom, but then we just like would call or text every 20 minutes to take a little 5-minute break. And I've been wondering, like, imagine doing your whole day like that. That would probably really increase in productivity. I also yesterday was really strict with myself, and I was a little strict with myself, and the goal was not to be on social media from 12 until 6. I really was locked in from 12 until like 3:50. They were having an event at this cafe I was at, and when they asked me to move to another seat so that they could just rearrange this specific spot, I was just like, ooh, I'm kind of hungry anyway. It kind of just like I was being lazy. I could have kept going, but I felt I had done enough. But I really am excited about the progress I did yesterday. I did end up just sticking on to 1 chapter. I thought that I was going to fluff around, but I was really into the chapter I was writing, and I haven't even got to the sex yet. We just did the build up. We did a build up so far. They literally just checked into their resort. They all are staying next to each other, and they're supposed to be meeting outside in 30 minutes. So that'll be fun to write. But again, it was like done with so much intention. Like, what do you call that? The person who's an intimacy coordinator. I'm the intimacy coordinator of my own book, and I'm very proud of that. Like, and even I think I talked about this already, maybe not, but 2 of my characters when we were in Dakar, we're not we've transformed to like a later time, but when we were in Dakar, it was very intentional that like the lady who is keeping the house, Fatu, she had a whole life, and in fact she was the reason for this business, and she just really enjoyed showing people her city. And that is important to me, to like give my secondary characters a lot of life and purpose and meaning, because like that's just the reality. And like I am that's the first time I ever said that. I am the intimacy coordinator of my books. And that's important. I'm literally writing urban erotica, y'all. My writing goal was 5,000. I was at about 3,600. I ended up going to see my friend's show and then going to my favorite bar. This is Kyle Joy Brooks, and you just watched A Writer's Life. Thank you so much.